Hello and welcome to another Connecting Live with me, your host, Lydia Daydal. Welcome to another episode. Just waiting for one English heavyweight champion, Mr. Fabio Wardley, to join the chat. And hopefully we can get him connected. He just said that he was here and he could see me talking, but I don't know if I believe that. But I'm going to try and send me a request. Hopefully this will work. Because I have no jokes to entertain in between. In the oh Hi.
I told you I was here.
Yeah, I know, but I couldn't see you when you your name didn't come up on the list. I had
I
a
hear
slide.
you talking shit about me in the chat.
I was going to put a fine on you. What is going on? We are in our usual post-fight win interview.
We are
11-0.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. So let's do what we always do and talk through the lead up to your fight, fight night, how you got on, how things were different, and then we'll talk about other stuff. We'll get the business. We'll get the business stuff out of the way first.
We'll get the good stuff out of the way.
Exactly. So how was camp? How was fight camp this time round?
Cool. It was good because it was interesting. It was different. It was a funny one, to be honest, because like all of it. Because we did obviously the usual quarantine thing at the beginning, and then the next day, obviously everyone, so all the fighters, all these Matchroom staff, all the refs, just anyone that was involved in the show, obviously all got coaches to the airport in the morning, and then we was all on the plane together. So yeah, that
looked fun.
That was, yeah, and to be fair, the flight was fun. It was quite funny. It almost felt a bit like school trip, like everyone was going away for a little holiday or something like that. But it was
especially with Darren Barker on the flight.
Yeah, literally with him on the plane, it's something else. Like he's literally, I call him the man child. Like he runs off batteries or something. He's just going 24/7. But yeah, so he was brilliant. We all had a good laugh on the plane and stuff. Obviously landed in Gibraltar. The weather was nice. It was nice and cool. Got to the boat, the yacht, which was really nice, really good setup and stuff. So, yeah, and then we just got settled in. And then from then on, it was kind of a bit business as usual, really, other than the setting we was in and where we were and obviously the boat us being on and things. That was the only real difference. But other than that, then it was just the usual things of media workouts, press conference, weigh-in, blah, 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 all of those little bits, really. Other than... Because obviously when we're there, you have to stay in the quarantine zone, which obviously at that point was the boat, the yacht. So we didn't get to go traveling or just kind of sightseeing or anything like that at all. But
would you want to do that? Would you want to be doing that on fight week?
No, not really. I know some people would. Some people would like to go for a little wander and stuff. I'd do that, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to be off going miles and miles down the road, but it'd been nice maybe to just go for a walk through the streets for a bit and just have a little nose and a wander. But yeah, that wasn't really an option. So, and then fight night on Saturday. But
so I guess sorry, go on.
No, that was all.
So, I mean, obviously, you're probably one of the very few fighters that has had this much experience as in being this active in lockdown. So the bubble scene and stuff, you're obviously getting used to that with each fight camp that you have. But this one, I suppose, because it was so different in terms of, everyone being on the flight and being in Gibraltar and, not being able to get away for so long, did you have to really kind of stay in focus? Because if I was doing that, I would find it very hard to, be in work mode because I'm we're on this plane and we're going on holidays.
It did feel like that. It did. You did, when we got there and stuff, and when the sun was shining, and then in between time when there was downtime, a lot of just the staff and the people were just chilling on top of the on the top deck and some sunbathing, and we were just laughing and joking and chilling out. It did feel a bit like holiday like. But then you have a little thing where oh shit, I've got to have a fight at the end of the week. You kind of, that realisation settles back in. But yeah, it was a nice mix of both, to be honest, because whenever I do these bubbles, whenever I'm at something like that, I try not to make too much of it. I try not to get kind of carried away in the moment of, oh, I've got a big fight, I need to do this, I need to do that. I tried to just enjoy it for what it is, and it was good, and it was fun. It was nice to be around everyone. So it did have a nice mix of both, to be honest, of still staying focused on the task, but then being able to enjoy a bit of like nice weather, a bit of downtime, a bit of relaxing fun.
Do you pay attention to social media in the lead up to your fights? Like, do you watch what people are saying in the lead up?
No, not really. Just because, one, fight week's pretty busy in terms of requirements of stuff we have to do and stuff. It's not just that. My fight weeks are very routined in terms of scheduled training times, scheduled eating times, sleeping times, things like that. And then a lot, my phone is just like explodes in fight week as well. So I just kind of leave it and deal with it all kind of after, and get back to as many people as I can after. But I don't really see. I see odd bits and bobs because it's hard not to, because most of the stuff that happens, whatever's said on either my side or their side, I'm tagged in. So it comes up and I can see it, but I don't spend too much time just kind of filter through it all.
Is that annoying that, like, you know, you're constantly tagged and stuff? I always wonder about that, you know, fight week especially, in that I'm very conscious of when I'm putting out videos. I never tag, you know, the opponents. If I'm like putting up, I wouldn't tag Molina in something if I was putting up a video of you. Because I'm just like, are they in the zone? Like, do I want to be like tagging them in it? Do they need to see this? You know, so is it annoying to be like, to pick up your phone and to be tagged and stuff, and to just be under this constant flow of messages and people wanting to contact you?
It's not necessarily annoying. It's just a lot, and I want to do, and I almost feel like a bit like a dick because like I'm not able to get back to everyone immediately and stuff. And I want to be able to say like, oh, thank you, and blah 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 blah, and engage and reply. But for that week, I kind of have to just be selfish with it and focus on the task, and then get to everyone after when I can. That's the way I view it, anyways. But I don't mind. Like, it comes with it. You can't do one without the other. I need to build profile. I need to build interest from support and fans and all of that. So it all comes with it, really. Like, I can't just say, no, everyone leave me alone, and then expect to grow my kind of status in the sport without it.
So, like, obviously when you have a question about your boxing or your technique or your nutrition or your food, you have someone in place in your team that you can ask. You have the coach, you have the nutritionist, you have the strength conditioning guys. But for stuff like this, for the media end and for the dealing with fans, like, do you ever have someone you can speak to? Do you ever want to? Or is it just something that you're like, okay, I'll just have to deal with this myself?
Nah, it's something I'd like to manage myself. Like, I've never had any media training or anything like that at all.
Liar.
I swear I haven't. I swear. It's just, again, with a lot of things, it's me. The image is me. The brand is me. My social media is all me. Like, the tweets or whatever I say are me, and the posts on Instagram are all me. And I want it to all be authentic. I want it to all be me. I don't want it to be a third party that puts that post up with that caption because they think that fits. Like, I want it to be genuine, I'd always want to be. I guess I'm a bit of a control freak. That I want to be in control of it. I want to be in charge of it, and I want it done because it's me. At the end of the day, it represents me. So maybe someone put something. If I did hire someone like a third party in some way, and then they did something that I didn't feel was me or didn't represent me right, then I'd have an issue with that. So I think it's for me, at least it's better for me to kind of manage that personally. As much as sometimes it can be stressful trying to get back to X amount of messages, but I just, again, it's a double-edged sword. It comes with it.
Do you realize though that, you know, like a lot of people, especially when you came out first, people were like commenting on how well put together you were? Does that make sense? You know, they were like, he speaks so well, he's really good at interviews, his social is really good, and it was like, you know, he's obviously been prepped for weeks and months to know the game and know exactly what to do.
I'm just winging it. That's it. I'm just like everything, like boxing. I'm winging it. Just this social media stuff. I'm just winging it. That's all. I'm just no. I've never, like I said, I've never had any training about it at all. The only thing is, like, I worked before boxing. I worked in a sales job for a good like 5 or 6 years, so I got comfortable with interaction and talking to people and being approachable and just having conversations, whether that be in front of cameras or personally or whatever. I just kind of got quite acclimatized to that very early on. Like, I started that kind of job when I was 17, 18, and I'd done it for about 5-6 years. So very early on, I was just used to having kind of back and forth conversations, and just felt comfortable with them. So I guess that just helped me a lot. If you want to use that, I guess that's the kind of media training that I had, was to that kind of started me off in a good stead.
Do you think it's important though? Because maybe not so. I think a lot of the younger fighters now sort of have a little bit of an insight into how things work, especially with social media. But there's guys that, you know, are coming from sort of the regional end maybe, or, you know, they've just been fighting a couple of fights and they're just getting their opportunities to be on the big stage now. And they haven't quite got the sort of media end together. Maybe they're really quiet when they're doing interviews, or they don't really like to engage that much. And you can see, especially in the lead up to fights, how they don't seem to get their kind of share of the pie, I guess, because they're not sort of honest. So do you think it's important that, you know, young fighters coming up, that they maybe if they don't have it themselves, they go and they find, or they speak to someone who's able to sort of help them in that area?
Yeah, I think because everything nowadays is online, is social media, is interaction, is views at the end of the day. Like, you need to, again, it goes back to building your brand. You need to be able to build yourself, and when you're not fighting, you need to be able to build yourself in other ways, whether that be on social media with posts, with interesting posts, with engaging with the people that follow you, your fans, your supporters and stuff, and kind of building that rapport and building that relationship, because those are then what's going to follow you through the years. It's not just, even if you want to take it back as far as like when I used to fight on the small ball shows and getting people to buy tickets and things like that. If you spend time building relationships with them, just even if they message you and you give them a little reply back and a little bit of engagement and stuff, then that builds a bit more of a relationship, and that helps you because they want to buy a ticket, and now they come, they enjoy it, then they tell their friends, and it builds and it builds and it builds. So it is something that's very important, and I do understand that some fighters that's just not their cup of tea. They just don't like doing certain things like that. And there's even high-level fighters that don't like doing that. Like Katie Taylor, for one, is like someone who doesn't really like doing interviews and engaging too much. She's quite a quiet, shy person, and keeps to herself. So I think on the initial, it's very helpful to have, just to get you at least into the limelight, get you in the conversation. And then from then onwards, you can kind of ease off a bit.
I agree. So obviously 11-0. So far so good. The pressure of that does it get any worse or less, or do you think about it, you know, because the undefeated, it's the tagline when you fight now, it's like undefeated English heavyweight champion. I said it when I was introducing you here. So when you go into a fight, when you take the next fight, are you like, God, this really means something to me? Or are you just, as you say, just taking it fight by fight?
No, I think there was a good period of time in boxing where the O meant everything. I think it was more of the Floyd Mayweather era, where he was just banging on about it, and everyone really thought that, like, if you lose your O, that's it, you're done almost, you're gone, like, you're no one. And I think that's kind of been spun on its head a lot lately, in the past kind of maybe 5-6 years or whatever, where you've seen a lot of fighters lose, but as long as, I think there's this understanding now that if you lose, but for as much as it can be, it's a good loss. Maybe you took a risky fight, or you put a good show of yourself on, a good performance, or it was a good fight, or whatever else. The loss obviously still hurts you as a person and whatever else, but it doesn't affect your image too much, doesn't affect your reputation too much, and things like that. So it is there, and there is a level of, it's always great to say, oh, I'm undefeated, I haven't lost yet, no one's beat me, blah, blah, blah. That is great to say, but also at the same time, your world doesn't come crumbling down just because maybe you've lost 1 or 2 fights. It's not the end of the world. There's prime examples of Joshua lost, he's come back, and now he's looked at all the same. And same with Dillian, he's lost a couple of times and still touted as one of the best in the world. And I think probably one of the best examples is Chisora, that he's lost, I think, about maybe 7 odd times now. And yet he's always up for a big fight. The fans love him. He's always in the mix, and he's got a pay-per-view fight coming up in the next kind of month or so. So that O kind of thing is not as big as it used to be. I don't think it carries as much pressure anyway.
I agree. And I suppose it's how you view it as well. I always find that the reaction of the fighter after the loss says a lot of how the narrative of what the boxing fans think or say. You know what I mean? It kind of, as soon as you kind of lose and you go away and you don't say anything online, if you're a very active fighter online, then everyone speculates, oh, he's took the loss really, really hard. You know, what's going to happen next? And then they put out something being like, back in the gym, all good, you know, going again. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool, we're back to normal.
Everything's all right.
Yeah, exactly, totally. But when you look at, you know, when you made the choice to say, I want to be a professional fighter, this is going to be my career now, and you look to where you are now, is it as you had thought it might be in your mind? Like, has it played out the same, or is it a little different?
No, it's a million miles ahead of where I ever thought I'd be. It really is. That's why I kind of view just every day in boxing from now, every fight, everything going forward is like a bonus. Because when I started out, I looked at my career, and obviously I started on small halls, and I was on, my manager wasn't like, I wasn't signed to any big labels or big management or whatever. I was just fighting because I loved it, and that's what I wanted to do. And I thought like the pinnacle maybe of my career at some point would be potentially boxing at the O2, not even necessarily headlining, but just making it to that kind of mecca, that event, just being somewhere on the card in a good fight, kind of win or lose. I'd be maybe 20, 25 fights in, and win or lose, I'd kind of have that great moment. That would be my big event, my big tick off. And then I'd kind of retire and say, yeah, no, I did it. And then next thing I know, I've boxed at the O2 3 times, and I've boxed the border in Gibraltar and everything else. So it all kind of, my estimations of all of it were like, I kind of smashed those all out of the park within like the first kind of 2 years of it. And I was a bit like, okay, so we need to look at this a bit differently now. So that's why I view it all, everything now is just a bonus from where I kind of planned or thought at least I would be.
So do you set out goals for yourself? Like, as each fight goes on, do you have a new goal?
Yeah. I keep them relatively in eyesight in terms of like close to me. Like they're within 6 months to a year goals. I kind of keep them on because of the way I view boxing and the way it goes and the landscape of everything. It can all change and jump so quickly. And I think it's so hard to plan maybe like a 5-year plan in boxing or something like that where you want to look really far ahead. Don't get me wrong, I have ultimate goals which are at the end of the line, but I look at those every now and then as opposed to keeping a regular focus on what I want to do in my next fight and what I want to do before the end of the year. And those are my kind of immediate goals that I look at more regularly.
How would you say you've changed? Like, obviously your boxing has changed, or it's progressed, or you've learned new things and you've changed and what did they say? You've upgraded the software? Is that what you say? But how would you say you've changed as a person in terms of the journey so far?
I think it's just made me like, in terms of boxing, it's just every time I just push myself to do different things every time. Like it all started with like, first time going away and doing sparring camps, but I went on my own and I put myself kind of in an uncomfortable position in a strange place, but I got through it, ticked it off and thought, cool, I can do that one, did that. And then it's like the next one and the next one and the next one. And I just kind of, I can just watch myself, I've watched myself kind of grow into this as well. And like I've said before and things, that I found it weird that like Johnny Fisher, for example, who like comes down to the gym a lot, we spar a lot, that he's new he's fresh, and we have conversations about, he's looking to do things like what I've done and blah, blah, blah. And I think that makes me pause for a second and think, oh shit, yeah, I've been here for a few years now. I've been around, I've done a few things. And I always still view myself as like still the novice, the new guy, the fresh one on the block kind of thing. And there's even this new generation of fighters already coming through, and I'm still thinking that I'm at the beginning stages where, don't get me wrong, I'm still very early on, but I'm a bit further along than where I kind of mentally, if I take the time to look at it, actually think I am. So it's been a bit of a learning curve, and just kind of, the biggest thing for me has just been throwing myself into situations that have been uncomfortable and just figuring it out and just going through it. I think for me, at least, that's the best way to do things, is just to, even if it's not the most comfortable situation, you don't feel right doing it, just throw yourself through it. And 9 times out of 10, I've always come out on the other side fine and well. So it works out in the end.
Well, the moral of that story is there is no growth in comfort.
Exactly. That's the one.
There's the wisdom for this afternoon. Okay, I'm going to go into the question box and see what questions are coming through for you. I'm not going to ask you about, are you going to fight Nathan Gorman? Do you want to fight Nick Webb? Because I know they're going to be in this question box, so we'll ask them then. And you've probably answered that question like 20. Like,
let's see who's in there. There's bound to be some people in there ready to stitch me up. Shit,
they've changed the layout of the questions. This is fantastic. They're in a line now. Brilliant. Okay. This is from Orchard9, and they've asked, can you ask, when is Fabio going to fight at Portman Road?
Portman Road.
Is that somewhere near you?
So that's so obviously I'm from Ipswich, and Ipswich Town Football Club, their football ground is called Portman Road.
Are you the most famous man in Ipswich?
I don't know if I am. I don't know if I've got
I'm going
to
say you are.
I don't know if I've got that title just yet. And maybe a few more fights, and we'll figure it out from there.
This is a question from I Am La. And they've asked, when are you going to be fighting in the States so my big sis and mom can come see?
That's my sister from America.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, soon, hopefully. Hopefully sometime soon. I'd probably say sometime next year. Probably not this year, obviously, because with everything going on. But it is definitely something on the list and definitely something I want to do, so hopefully next year.
Is there any, like, goal venues or countries, you know, do you have something set out where you're like, I've always wanted to fight in XYZ?
Madison Square Garden is always been the one for me. But it's
classic.
That's the obvious. That's the obvious one. I've always wanted to do that one, so we'll see.
Good stuff. Okay. Lots of we love yous. Lots of well dones.
Who loves me? I want to hear it all, please. I want to hear all the names. I want to hear all the love, please.
There's too many to individually go, and I'm not here to inflate your ego. There's a good one here from Kashra Ulsonic, I think it is. And they've asked, who does Fabio look up to in boxing?
It's going to sound cliche and obvious, but it is Dillian Whyte. I really do look up to him. But not just because he's my manager. I look up to him because of the things he's achieved, from where he came from his background, from his story, from him coming from the small hall, kind of white collars, the same as me, and then now he headlines and pay-per-view shows like every few months. Like that in itself is an amazing achievement. And then not just that, but then him even decided that at the point where he's in the twilight of his career, that he's willing to then hand out offerings and help outs to people like me and take me on board, and the other fighters that he's taken on and things like that, where in his own right he could just focus on completely himself and manage it all himself and worry about himself. He doesn't have to worry about people like me and the other guys he's taken on, but he chooses to because he knows kind of we've gone through the similar things that he has, and he wants to obviously he wants us to come through and end up in the same position as him. So for that, and obviously those and a bunch of other reasons, he'd be the guy I look to the most. It's
a good answer. Do you think down the line that you would like to do something like that, or do you think you'll just get in and get out? Make your money.
I don't know. I think I'd like to manage. Someone asked me that question before, if I'd like to manage or even be a trainer. And I don't think I'd like to be a trainer. I'm not.
Why not?
I don't think I have the skill set for that.
Because you've no patience.
Yeah, I'm like, just do it this way. I told you to do this. Why are you not doing it? So, no, maybe not a trainer, but a manager or something more hands-on, more just advice and giving someone some direction and things like that, I think would more kind of fit me, and my skill set.
Good stuff. Right, let's go through the list. Have a little bit look here. Ah, your cousin, your wonderful cousin Elise. Who is your loudest fan? I think I know the
She
answer.
is. She is. She does this ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous scream every fight. And it is literally like mind-numbing. You can hear, no matter what is, if we was in the O2 and it was packed and there was 20,000, you would still be able to hear it. It's unreal.
So how have you coped without it the last 3 fights?
It's been blissful. I've been buzzing. It's not been...
You're not very nice. Okay, there's a really good question in here from Chris Durden, I think it is. And he said, you often hear that mindset is key. What is the key to keeping a winning mindset in Fabio's opinion?
Focus on yourself and not other people.
Oh, your sound is gone.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear that question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah. I mean, you look like you're in a washing machine, but... Other than that...
I forgot the question. Mindset, was it?
Yeah, sorry. I've actually kind of forgotten as well there. I was kind of freaking out. You often hear... Can you hear me okay? Testing.
I can hear
Testing.
you.
1, 2, 3.
Testing.
Okay, great.
Testing.
We are live on air with Fabio Wardley. Okay, this is from Chris Durden, and he's asked, you often hear mindset is key. What is the key to keeping a winning mindset in Fabio's opinion?
My opinion, and I'd say what works best for me again is focusing on yourself. I think especially with boxing, where you can have a lot of people who want to throw their 2 pence in, they want to give you this advice and that advice, and I'm not saying it's bad or it's wrong, but even on the other side where you may have a fight and then it's followed by a lot of criticism or whatever, I think as long as you're focusing on yourself and trying to stay away from that, anything that can distract you, like negative comments can really get to people, they can really make you second guess yourself, and kind of throw you off track. So I think as long as you kind of do your best to avoid that and stay focused on the task. I think my thing is, I think as long as, like, people always find it weird that I never watch tapes on my opponents. But my belief is that as long as I do everything I'm supposed to do, as long as I do all my training properly, I do all my sessions, I do all my runs, blah, 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 blah. As long as I turn up as the best Fabio Wardley, then what they do necessarily doesn't matter. I can do it on my own because I've put all that work in. So that would be my thing, is to try and not get distracted by the kind of the noise around you and focus on yourself.
What other... Like, because the negative comments are kind of one area of distraction, but as successful, the more successful that you get, there's inevitably going to be even more distractions. And I think that's when the test comes in for a lot of guys that are kind of on that trajectory in their career, staying focused then. You know, a lot of people think it's hard to stay focused at the start, but as the money comes in, as the success comes in, I imagine that's when it could be a little bit more challenging to have that hunger and have that fight that you had at the very start of your career. Yeah,
definitely. That's what it all starts for. You want all of those things. You want the money, the fame, the accolades, the everything that goes with it, and then you start getting a few. And then you start thinking, oh, hang on, I'm the guy. I've done this. I've blah 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 blah. And you need to I'm fortunate enough to have a good set of family and a good set of friends that are more than happy to bring me down to earth anytime I get anywhere near that kind of level. So I think that would be the best option for something like that, is to make sure you're surrounded by good people like that who are ready to just bring you down a peg or two. Like, even immediately straight after my fight, when I got home, my mum was like, yeah, great, you won your fight, all good, but there's chores that need to be done, so go do the washing up. Like, it was just things like that like, you just make you remember that, like, you're that guy over there, but here, to us and everything, you're still the same person. And
so it's like enjoy the 2 weeks that you're gone and that you're in the bubble.
Wander
like
around
live
with a
it
big
up.
puffy chest for 2 weeks and strutting around like you're the guy, and then come back and take the bins out.
Good stuff. That's what I like to see. Um, your mum has just said, yes, we will.
Of course.
And she said that she loves you as well.
Good old girl.
Let's see. Okay, there's a good question here from Mayhem Moten. And they've asked, Fabio, is there any American heavyweights that you want to mix it up with?
I've none specifically. There's the general names. There's names that we thought about and looked at already. The kind of standard guys like Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, Gerald Washington. Those kinds of guys that we've had conversations about, me and the team and stuff already. But there's no one in particular that I've looked at and thought, oh, I really want to go for them. I never really do. I never really look at individuals and think, oh yeah, I really want to knock him out, because ultimately I don't really have a problem with anyone. I don't care. Like I don't know you. I'm not going to pretend there's an issue between us or create something fake like that. All I want to do is build a good reputation for myself on one of obviously picking up belts and things like that, and as well as just being in good fights. So if there was an option of a certain fighter that we knew on paper would be a good fight, then I'm more than happy to do that.
I hear you. There's loads of questions about Nick Webb. A lot of them being like, does Fabio, it kind of in theme with what we're talking about here, but does Fabio have personal beef with Nick Webb?
No. No, there's no beef with me and Nick Webb. Like, I think we've had some playful banter things back and forth between us and stuff.
Well, I think a lot of people are commenting on a comment that you made during one of the Matchroom the Matchroom things. You're like, oh, Nick doesn't want that fight. I saw it and I was like, he's getting very bold.
That's Mason's fault. That is. That's Mason's fault. He does anything for the views. He goaded me into that one. He was just like, so Mason is the video editor, the camera guy for Matchroom, who produces a lot of their content and stuff. So
he's fantastic.
He's always going around with a camera and putting it in your face and asking you questions and things like that. And I'd not been awake. I've not long been awake either, so I wasn't in the best of moods. I wasn't in the most jovial mood either. So he just shoved it in my face and asked me a question, and I was slightly grumpy. So I made an offhand comment about so and so. And to be fair, it was factual. It wasn't a lie, but it was it was a bit of a spicy comment from me, but it ultimately
bit spicy, but it worked. It was good.
It was a bit of fun. Like, it's all a bit of fun.
Exactly. And this is from Mr. Ty. We'll take one or two more, and then I'll let you go because I know you're very busy, and I'm very grateful for your time.
I'll do 10 more.
There's a question here from Mr. Ty Official, and they've asked, is your ultimate goal to be a world heavyweight champion? If so, how far away would you set that goal for?
Yeah, definitely. That's always the ultimate goal, because I don't think you should be in the game if that's not your goal. I don't know, like, it's cliche to say, but again, you don't play boxing. I think unless you're all in, it's dangerous for you to even be in the sport. And in terms of my trajectory towards that, or how long it may take, it's a difficult one to say. Probably within 3 to 5 years, maybe. Something like that. I think I'm 26 now, so probably by 30 time, I think would be a prime time to kind of be in the mix for that. I'll have had a good few fights more by then. I'd have built my reputation, maybe been in a few wars, learnt a few more lessons, things like that. Because with my career, I need a bit of extra long time to kind of build and learn and pick up on the stuff that I missed, or that you would have missed if I'd have done ABA kind of things, which I haven't done. So yeah, that would be, if I was to kind of set a time frame, it'd be somewhere in that region.
Super. This is from King Hafiz 1999, and they've asked, who inspired you to become a professional boxer?
Roy Jones Jr. Always. That was the one for me that, like, I watched it and I was like, this is like this guy.
So where would you have been watching Roy Roy Jones Jr. Where would you have been watching him growing up? Like, was there been boxing on at home? Would you have friends who've watched the boxing? Like, where would it have infiltrated your growth?
It was YouTube, to be honest with you. Just highlights and reels and finding old fights on YouTube and online and just the internet, really. That was where I found them all, because when I was young, I wasn't into boxing. It wasn't my thing. I just never really paid it too much attention. I watched a few big ones and things like that, but it wasn't like I had a love for it, or I really kind of wanted to do anything with it. It was just, I found it interesting every now and then. But then as I started to watch a few different fighters and things, and then I stumbled across Roy Jones, and then it just kind of went from there, and I was just watching clip after clip after fight, and he became my kind of boxing idol, my one that I was like, this guy just does it so differently to everyone else, and just like everything he does was just so unheard of and unreal in terms of kind of how boxing had been to that point, that it just sucked me in watching those, and then that was me from then onwards. I was involved.
Were you happy to see him make a comeback?
Yeah.
What is your feeling on, you know, like our nostalgic, or our boxes that we have all this nostalgia around, and that, like, you know, for me, I've never gotten to see Mike Tyson fight live and can only watch back tapes.
Yeah.
But I didn't really want to see him come back. I did, but I didn't, because I wanted to keep that memory of like what it must have been like to see him fight, you know? So how did you feel with that?
I do get what you mean. I was different. I was the opposite with it. I wanted to see it because I hadn't ever seen it. Because I'd missed that era of the Mike Tyson, the Roy Jones, and blah, blah, blah. So it's not just about it. To me, it wasn't about just the fight. It was about the build-up, the back and forth, and all of kind of the hype surrounding it that leads to the fight, and then the afterwards, and all that stuff. Because it's not the same kind of buzz or same kind of feeling when you just click Mike Tyson highlights in and you watch some bits back. It's not, you don't get that same feeling. But when it's the slow build towards it, you know it's coming, and then there's teasers, there's trailers, there's this, there's that, and it starts building that anticipation. And I missed all that because I wasn't into boxing at that early age. So I was happy to be able to kind of, at least, obviously it's not the same as kind of the hype that was back in the day when they were both in their prime, but at least I was happy to be able to get a kind of a little taste of it and just see how it went and how it felt.
Mm-hmm. Before I get absolutely killed for this, I'm not saying that I disapproved of Mike Tyson being back fighting or anything, but you know what I mean? Like,
that does pretty sound like what you
personal...
said. You said that shouldn't have been on TV. That's what I heard anyways.
No, don't do this. What I mean is, you know, for me personally, I wanted to keep the memory of Mike Tyson, the animal, as opposed to Mike Tyson, you know, someone who has grandkids now.
Mm. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But
thanks very much.
Ultimately, you think he's shit. That's what you just said. But no worries, we'll just move on. Next question.
Okay. Let's have a look. I'll take one more, right? Because there's I'm not going to get through them. Loads of people asking, do you support Ipswich Town? Which I assume you do. Is that a football team? Is Ipswich a football team? Yeah.
Yeah, Ipswich Town FC.
It's just, they obviously just don't do as good as Spurs because I'd know about them. Is that the way it is?
No, they're not doing very well right now.
Okay, there's a really good question here, and it's from Charlie Smith, and she's asked, you spoke about possibly managing down the line. Is there any fighter fighting right now today that you would sign? Good question.
Canelo Alvarez?
Yeah.
No,
Are you
not.
Sure?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I would have to have a good chat about it, but I'd see. Maybe I'd offer my services. But no, because I'd like to, not necessarily homegrown, but I'd like someone quite fresh, quite new, quite young, someone that I can help guide, and not someone that's already established or has got people and blah.
What would be your checklist if not an actual person, what would be your checklist of this new up-and-coming talent that you would need them to have?
I just want them to be driven about it. That's all. That's the only thing I'd look for, really. Because it doesn't matter if you're any good. Well, obviously it does. But on the initial, it doesn't matter if you're the best, most talented natural boxer in the world, or if you're the biggest, if you're the strongest, fastest, whatever else. It just, the thing that would annoy me if I was going to manage someone and give my time to someone and put effort in with them is that if it's not reciprocated, if I do my job and you're not doing yours, that's when there'd be an issue for me. So my biggest thing to look for in someone was just be someone that's keen and someone that wants to train, someone that wants to be at the gym, someone that wants to learn, someone that doesn't say no to sparring opportunities, traveling opportunities, whatever they are. Like they do everything they can to commit themselves to the sport because that's what it takes ultimately. So if you're not willing to do that, then there's no point either of us being in it.
Very wise. You're going to make a wonderful manager. Okay, I always ask the final question, and it is this.
No.
A good one. Shut up.
37.
And the question is, what is the one question that you are sick of answering in interviews, and what is the one question that you wish you were asked in interviews?
In interviews, I don't know if I have an in interview one. The question I hate the most that I just get in general life is how's training going? Like, are you training hard? That one makes me want to hurt someone because it's like, yes, like it's my job. This is what I do. And like, you training hard?
You've just insulted every single person that you've ever met has just instantly been insulted. But people are asking you that because that's the like the middle ground. This is the athlete. I don't know about being an athlete, so I'm going to ask him, how's your training?
Imagine I just go, I'll tell you what, I wasn't actually, but now you've said that, I'm just going to go to the gym because I wasn't before that, but you've reminded me that I need to train hard, so I'm just going to shoot back to the gym quickly and bang out some more reps. That's probably my least. It's just like I understand where it comes from and it's nice, but it's just tedious. I just have to hear it every day. And like, I'm not saying people will have to stop doing it. You can do it. Just I'll still be polite and nice to you, but just know in the back of my head, I'm just like, oh.
Okay, and the second part of the question is one question you wish that you were asked more about.
What my favourite dinosaur was.
Okay, what was your famous dinosaur or favourite dinosaur?
No, I don't know. My favourite. What would I like to be asked? Do I have any hidden talents?
Okay, there you go. Do you have any hidden talents?
Nah, because if I tell you this, you're going to try and get me to do it. And I'm not gonna.
Go on, what is it?
I can do a pretty good Eubank impression. But there is no way in the entirety of this live or your life you'll ever get me to do it. I'm just letting you know that now.
Can I just say, I've heard your Eubank. And it's really not that good at all.
No, I'm not having this. Yes,
quite frankly, it is the worst Eubank impression that I've ever heard. So I'm definitely not going to ask you to do it.
Right, fine. Well, yours isn't that good either.
Only joking. It's a great impression. We'll get you someday to do it. Boys, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate your time. I know you, like, it's the week after a fight, like, leave me alone. But thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I won't ask you what's next because you've just fought. So we'll wait and see. And we're excited.
I'm going to answer for you.
Well, there you go. That as well. But we look forward to hearing what's announced and see you going to 12-0. Woohoo!
Next one. Let's go. 12-0.
Next one. Let's go. Thank you so much, Fabio Wardley. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Lydia. Speak to you soon.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.